Chinese archaeologists exploring ancient Chinese tomb, thought to be of the Ming dynasty. Found behind the tomb's wall was a delicate clay tablet, of which had been carefully engraved in Chinese script. The tablet was carefully transported to China's top university, where archaeologists and experts pondered over it for weeks to try to decipher the strange writing. And they finally announced the script had been translated, and it read as follows. So. Most wise men know that life must seem like a sheet of toilet paper, because you're either on a roll or you're having to take shit from some asshole. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to another exciting show. And it's a hat show tonight, isn't it? It's a hat trick. And we've got Krista Gardner and a bowler hat farmer. So what about that? And Eric Funny Farm. And actually, what do you think? It's modelled on a piss pot. And I noticed Chris's one is an actual fez, isn't it?
An actual fez from Morocco, mate. Like,
really?
Yeah, seriously. Like, went to Morocco probably nearly 20 years ago now, mate. And first thing when I got off the ferry was a young chap selling these at €5, I think it was. And I thought, well, I don't want to look out of place, so I better get one. So I bought one, popped it on. Didn't see anyone else wearing them the whole time I was there, mate. But I've decorated it with tin foil for tonight.
Yeah, you'd probably be. There's probably more people wearing them in Scarborough than there are in Morocco.
Probably, yeah. Idiots like me that are prepared to part with €5 for a bit of cardboard with some felt wrap around it.
Wow, But anyway, tonight we got an exciting show. I've got some call-outs to do first of all. Now let's have a quick look what we got here.
Didn't realise you were a fireman, Chris.
I think it suits me actually. I kind of like it. I'm wondering whether wear it when I'm out. Right. Now we got here. Now what we got here. Right. Somebody sent me this. Here it is. It says keep it hush hush. And it's on the Sunday the 28th of April 2024. And it's at the Beaumont Centre in Chesham. So anyone who wants to go to that, there it is. Freeze the screen if you're watching it on record, and you can go to that. I won't be going, but if you're interested, that's what's going on. But something I will be going to will be tomorrow night, and that will be, where is it? Here, and this is the Red Lion pub in where is it now? Stansted Abbots, 1 High Street, Stansted Abbots, and it's to talk about, where are we going to learn about micro something or other, micro dosing, whatever that is. So I'll find out about that. So I'll be there if anybody is going to go there. So there we are. Well, I might be there, but I hope to. All being well. So there it is. It's from what time is it? 7 o'clock. That's it.
7:30 the talk starts, mate.
That's right. But I'm going to be there at 7 o'clock because I'm a goody.
You're a good boy, aren't you?
Yeah. You see me in the corner, and when I'm actually in crowds of people, I'm very polite. If I break wind loudly, I always say pardon. And when I'm scratching my backside, I always make sure the right foot is slightly inwards, with my tongue out the side of my mouth. So you can see I've been properly trained when dealing in group situations. You see that.
You talk about group situations. I did a speech on Friday night, and there was a councillor there from the Green Party who went right through me saying about everything right to the end. And I said Q&A session. He said I've got a few questions, and he said I agreed with this, and this. But I think there's no way that the 2030 agenda is real. I was like,
and he's a councillor.
Really?
Shocking.
No, never.
I didn't even have to deal with him. The audience did.
There, yeah.
Well, I got leaflet through about 2 years. No, sorry, not 2 years. 2 elections ago from the Green Party, and it looked like a kind of an appeal. It looked like one of these charity appeals. The way they're dressed, they look like they're wearing the clothes that a charity shop rejects. You know, they're all sort of standing there with on the piss collars and sort of like this.
Or they're trying to prove they're into recycling, aren't they?
Well, that's right. And they all look like as if they're extras in a film about Belson, you know, all sort of what is. I just, no, I don't get it.
No, and I don't think you ever will, mate.
No.
They probably don't get it either, to be honest.
No, they probably don't.
I did go many. I mean, the thing is everyone to their own. But what gets me is when they try and force it down your throat, and that's what really gets up my bloody
mate. With anything, isn't it? That like it doesn't matter what it is: politics, religion, lifestyle choices. Yeah, exactly. You know, but I think something that people would do well to remember is anyone who's made a lifestyle change that they feel is really beneficial and has done them, you know, a lot of good. Always try and be humble and remember that you weren't always the same. I think that's something that they forget very quickly. You know, I find that with ex-smokers a lot. They're the worst. They're the worst people to moan about fag smoke and you smelling of fags and things like that are the people that gave it up.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so, I actually find that, I mean, people that I know that are smokers are very polite. They don't, you know, they know that not everybody wants their smoke and they smoke responsibly. And what annoys me is this bloke, Chris Whiffy, ordering people, or not necessarily ordering them, but apparently they're trying to stop people smoking. And I think there's something a little odd about that because I haven't looked into it. But
you know what it is? It's because the new logic to it is that nicotine is actually good for you, not bad for you. If you look into it, the people who had the jibby jabs, the people who were smokers were less affected by it.
I read that as well, mate.
Because nicotine's apparently good for you. So you know the rules. If something's good for you, it's bad for you. And if something they tell you it's bad, it's good. It's like eating butter, drinking full skim milk. Proper milk, proper milk, not this whitewash stuff out of Tesco's. This is proper milk. Dora's Dairy in Swindon.
Well, look at the French and the Italians. If you saw a list in some parts of Italy, I'm not talking about the southern part, you'd think, bloody hell, how do they survive? Everything's full fat. They have probably the worst diet, but they're the most healthiest and they live the longest.
Absolutely. You've got to have fat in your diet, you know.
Of course you have.
But I mean, I stood on stage on Saturday down at the Great Resist, and I was talking down there, and I got on stage with a lump of butter and a lump of asparagus. I said, you can't have one of these without a bunch of asparagus needs a half pound of butter. You can't have it without it, can you?
Precisely. You can't, you know, I mean, well, I like, you can't have a jacket potato without butter. You've got to have butter with it because
why would you?
It's really good for you.
Margarine doesn't cut it, does it? Or any of the spreads. I mean, we used to have clover for years. Me and Jess would buy clover, and then about a year and a half ago, we started I was like, I want to go back to butter, full fat milk, and all that because we used to have green milk as well.
Yeah.
So we get the full fat milk now and the butter. I'll tell you what, I couldn't go back to margarine or clover or anything now.
Oh,
well, what I say, I can't believe this ain't butter because it's not.
It's not, is it? And it don't taste right. If you anything with seed oils in, mate, I try and avoid as much as I can. So
Chris,
I don't...
did you? There was a report came out the other day. They were talking about coal butter. Have you heard about this?
What?
No, you're going to educate me.
Coal butter. So in 1920, just at the end of the Second World War, at the end of the First World War, the Germans were so destitute. What they did was they had this coal, what they used to wash to make it safe because it was explosive. So they used to wash it to make it safe to burn. In washing it, it ended up with this thick sludge. They dyed the sludge yellow and sold it as butter, but it didn't take off. So in 1939, when they started sending out U-boats, the life expectancy of the U-boat crew was about 18 weeks.
Yeah.
So what they used to do was send that butter out on the U-boats because the guys were never going to last long enough to know if it was good for them or not.
Oh.
And after they tested it in the Second World War on the Jews in the camps, and they all died within 6 months of liver failure. And so it was then after the Second World War, it was pronounced safe, and they sold it for another 15 years to the public as butter, and it was just a thick sludge dyed yellow.
and I'm not shocked by that, Mark, at all.
No.
That's sort of kind of says.
Well,
says
that's the shit
really.
what you buy in Tesco's every day now, isn't it?
Mate, look at all these
synthetic crap.
Mate, look at all the plant-based rubbish that they sell, the bacon and the you know, all that nonsense. It looks how I'd imagine it tastes.
Yeah.
You know, there's absolutely no way I'm ever going to put any of it in my basket ever.
No.
Anything that's, I'm of the opinion that we need to get away from buying anything that's in a packet, mate, or a box.
No, I agree, 100%.
I really am. You know, I think if you can afford to get your meat from a local butcher,
100%, mate.
Get your produce where you can, buy it locally if you can.
Yep.
And I'm trying to spend. I mean, I do spend money in supermarkets, Mark.
It's a job not to. It's a job not to.
You know, there's things that
we launched a little farm shop here on the farm. We launched this. It's on a trailer, right? So we don't need planning permission. It's 14 foot long, 6 foot wide. It took £1,000 last week.
Wow!
No staff. It's just on a truck.
Just an honesty box.
Just honesty box with a camera in there, and it's taken £1,000. Now that's 50 grand a year the supermarkets are not taking.
That's brilliant.
Oh,
how cool's that?
Delighted.
Hey, I'm impressed.
The speech I did at Saturday down in Swindon was talking about how other people could do this. You imagine if we got 100 people launch these at 50 grand a year out of the supermarket's pocket, then it starts to hurt.
And that's what they need, a kick up, you know.
They do.
Well, they're not going to, but they need to just disappear. That's a great idea, isn't it?
Where can people go in Suffolk to find this? So, give it a good plug.
Interestingly, IP29.
IP29.
4PE.
4PE.
It literally takes you right to the gate of the farm.
Beautiful.
Right, hang on. Shall I put a banner across the bottom? I'll put a banner across the bottom.
So that'd be very nice of you, sir.
Not across your bottom, but here we go. Where is it now? So create banner, and was it IP
29.
29. Yeah.
4PE.
4PE. And what's the name of the farm, just in case?
Well, they'll just see a big black shed with a shop in it.
Right, okay.
that is the postcode is only for the shop entrance.
So there it is. IP29 4PE, and you get what can you buy? You can buy butter.
Oh mate, and it's growing by the day. Butter. This is the thing. I've got you can get milk in there, you can get bread in there, cakes in there, fudge, fruit juice, all the fruit and veg. It's like the colours of the rainbow, mate. Honestly, we got everything in there.
Really?
And we're extending it. I've now got permission from the Environmental Health to do bacon and pork pies, and it's all coming.
Is it all orgasm? You know, sorry, organic.
Very much.
Orgasm assured as you walk walk in there.
What most of it is, all the British stuff is. It's the things like bananas and lemons which I've put in there, which you kind of can't really believe too much of when they say if it come from China and they say that white garlic is not bleached, they're lying.
Well, I love it when you see, because I've bought organic garlic from a supermarket, got it home and seen that it was grown in China, and instantly I have no belief in it being organic. Then you can write what you want on the label. If it was grown in China, it ain't organic.
It ain't organic.
No,
just by default.
Not a chance.
Chris,
anyway,
we're 14 minutes in. Is there any comments yet? We're 14 minutes in.
Right, hang on. Let's have a look. We go into the comments. Let's have a look now, and I'll have a quick flash of your postcode a bit later as well. All right.
I know it's your show, but we're guiding you here.
Don't worry.
It is a little tickle in the right direction.
Hello, Deb. Way. That's it. And then we got Mark Anthony. Evening, good evening. Looking forward to the show. Yep, so are we. Yeah, here we go. And we got here. What else we got? Evening, Chris, all in chat. Yeah, right. Ralph Winter.
Ralph.
Evening, folks. And then we've got.
Hello.
That's life.
Hello, William.
That's life. Not it. Full fat all the way. That's right. Oh. Full fat. And then we've got here. Price of butter has fair shot up. Funny enough, talking about full fat, I went to see Miles last Wednesday, and he said that when you're frying anything, he reckons if it's out of a block, okay, i.e. sort of block of butter or lard, I won't say lard, it's better than out of these new modern oils that they've got. That
of course it is, man.
Well, a lot of these oils are biocarcinogenic, aren't they?
Well, that's right. That's right.
Do you know that rapeseed oil was originally designed to lubricate tractor engines, don't you?
Yeah, I think you told me that, mate. Yeah.
And did you know mouthwash? I won't say which one because they got better lawyers. They can afford lawyers. But it was actually a floor cleaner. And they didn't know what to do with it. So it's in the 1930s. So they invented a disease called halitosis, which doesn't exist, which is bad breath.
Yeah, bad breath, yeah.
So you gargle with this floor cleaner.
Mate, you don't need mouthwash. I never have used mouthwash.
Salt water. If you've got anything wrong with your mouth, salt water.
I get the toothpaste off the Tinternet, the stuff that's got no fluoride in, just the natural organic toothpaste, and that's, you don't need mouthwash. I'm pretty sure of that.
I had one of my daughters years ago wouldn't clean her teeth a little so and a friend of mine sold Forever Living products, and the toothpaste was green. So I told her it was Shrek toothpaste. She cleaned her teeth 3 times a day.
Do it, mate. You manipulate them.
We've got Kat, by the way. Kat has been very, very, very naughty because Facebook, yes, they're truths now of telling blatant truths. How dare she tell truths on Facebook? And apparently she can't link, she can't do things on there. There's lots of things. Come out with Telegram. It's much better, you see. Nice and friendly. Hello, everyone. Sorry I'm late. Yeah, so we can't have Kat telling truths, can we? Got a note from my mum. Oh, that's good. Hope everyone is well. And Kat Holly is suffering from IP29 4PE. Can you take tablets for it? Yes.
Yes, we sell them in the shop.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Natural ones, I hope, Mark.
Natural, ooh la la.
So she goes along and says, IP 29. Do you really? Oh, well, you have 29 Ps before you get there. So there we go. And then we got Mark Anthony says, people have taken in all the cholesterol myth and are terrified to have anything that says full fat. It's madness. That's right.
I concur. Can I just interject something there, mate? Because allegedly my dad's dad, my granddad, died of high cholesterol at the age of 53, I think. My dad has been paranoid about high cholesterol his whole life and has had cholesterol tests and is probably on some form of statin and gets all the Vitalite and red milk and all that. And he used to try and drum it into me that I should have a cholesterol test and I should do it regularly because I needed to keep an eye on my cholesterol because it ran in the family. And if I've never had one, never. No, and that's my belligerence because he told me to. And if you tell me to do anything, then I'm just going to do the complete opposite. Because if you ask me, if you sit down, have a chat with me and ask me to do something, I'll help you out as best I can. I'll do what I can. As soon as you start telling me what I've got to do, mate, that's it. I'm afraid my heels go in and I do the complete opposite. So never had a cholesterol test. I now, like, as you know, I eat butter and blue milk and I fry in lard and I eat the fat on meat and everything. So, and I don't feel like I'm in any way affected by any kind of cholesterol problem. No. So that is, I think that is a big fat misinterpretation or deliberate. Because I think that is an accident that they're trying to get people away from having these things because you said, if it's good for you, they probably don't want you to have it.
Well, your body can digest any amount of natural body fat, of animal fats. And it's so good for your body, it's untrue. That's why they tell you not to have it, because they don't want you to be healthy. My dad's 84. He still has a fry up every day. Mum cooks in lard. They're the only people who would have a slice of bread with their butter. I mean, I do it, and I'm terrible. If I go into a restaurant or something, I'm like, have you got any butter to put on that toast? It's like,
I'm always asking for more butter, mate. Whenever we go out anywhere,
shows you what type of restaurants I eat in when they serve toast.
Well,
mate.
I went in wearing this to have a dope test, and I passed first time. But trouble is, all these tests, I don't believe in them. I keep far away from quacks as humanly possible. And right, my quack is Miles. And what he does is, all right, poke your tongue out. Right, let's look at your tongue. All right, look at your, yeah, okay. And he can tell how you're ticking over by that. But he can also, he feels your pulse. And incredible. You don't need these machines and things, because if you put one of these blood pressure things on my wrist, my blood pressure will go through the roof, because it's psychological. Oh, I hope it's low. Oh, I better be very low. Oh, I've got to relax. Got to relax.
Yep.
No, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I had
white coat syndrome, Chris.
That's right. But Kat Holly says, Kat, cholesterol produces testosterone and
estrogen, I think it is, mate.
Estrogen, and that as well. No wonder they want to tell us it is too high. Total hoax.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bring the population down.
Yeah.
That's right. Low fat is full of sugar. Carcinogenic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
But I'll tell you something that I found an alternative, xylitol, which is expensive to sugar. But the other one is coconut sugar.
Honey, that's the best thing.
And honey, baby. Yes. And now we got
sugars, aren't they? They're the best ones.
My dentist says avoid mouthwash. Euthymol has no fluoride. I don't have mouthwash anyway.
No, that's a toothpaste, isn't it? Euthymol.
Is it?
Yeah, it's the one that comes in the. Is it a black and white tube? I think. A lot of old people use it.
Yeah, that was for smokers, wasn't it? Euthymol.
I don't know. A lot of old people still use it, Chris. I worked in an old folks home for a little while, mate, and a lot of them have that.
Because I use fluoride free. Oh, what's it called now? I can't think what it's called, but it's quite a famous one, I think. But
bicarbonate soda, that's the best thing.
I've read that, mate. Yeah.
Well, that is what toothpaste is based on, isn't it?
Is it?
That's cleaning agent in it. Yeah, just bicarbonate soda.
Ah. Every day's a school day.
Baby with a laser says, no surprise that they say eggs are the biggest culprit for high cholesterol.
Yeah.
My granddad would never eat tongue. And he said, I wouldn't eat anything that comes out of an animal's mouth. So my dad said, well, eat eggs, don't you? Think about it. Anyway.
Eggs, where they speak from.
Yeah, eggs, one of the healthy things you can eat.
Yeah, I think so, baby.
And baby with a laser says, yes, that is for smoke. No Ucril for smokers. Okay. No, I think what he means is that it's euthymol is not for smokers. I don't know.
You might have to clarify, baby with a laser.
Yes. Yeah, so laser's been pointed the wrong way around. That's why, you see, we've got protection from the lasers. See, it's very comfortable, actually. I think I might go shopping wearing this. It'd be quite nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I probably won't go shopping in mine if that's all the same.
No.
But if you do, take the foil off, mate.
Yes. Well, I could say I passed the dope test, but actually, can you still buy a bowler hats?
You can on eBay.
Yeah. Really?
Not ones like this.
Well, one's made in China, I suppose, made out of.
All the new ones are. Do you know where these were originally designed for?
No, go for it.
In Norfolk, up on the Holcombe estate.
Right.
To stop the gamekeepers getting smacked on the head by poachers, they designed these to take a club on the head.
Wow.
And that's where they originally designed. And then all the bankers, you know, that's with a B.
Yeah.
The bankers decided that they looked good and they would take them on. But they were designed for the Holcombe Hall estate.
Wow. That's just up the road from me, Mark.
Yeah, I know where you are. Yeah, it's just up the road.
You know that Sandringham originally was part of the Holcombe estate. Did you know that?
Really?
Yep. Sandringham was part of Holcombe, mate, and it was sold off to Queen Victoria for King whatever he was. Which one was he? Was he Edward VII? I can't remember. Was he an Edward? Her son, the one with the big fat beard, the one that was just
that was Edward. Was it? Oh, hang on.
Edward VII, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was Dirty Bertie, wasn't he? He was the one that used to have
mate, up at her house is on the estate still. He built her a house just down the road from the main house at Sandringham so that he could have her up there as well. So you go and have a bit of slap and tickle when he fancied it when he was at Sandringham.
Oh well, they've all been into that, haven't they? Nothing's really changed.
That estate was built as a party venue, basically. That's what Sandringham was built for. It was his playground. I mean, you know, the pheasant shoots and the house was built just for parties, basically, and that's what it was. He had a bear, didn't he?
If you could do it, you would.
I don't know, mate. I really like to believe I wouldn't, Mark. I see all the good that all that wealth could do for people.
Man, isn't it ridiculous?
It's nuts, mate. It's insane. They've got far too much, and I struggle with that. When I struggle that they can have 300 plus homes, and yet we're quite happy for 10,000 people to sleep rough in London during the winter. I really do, mate. I can't get my head around it. I never have. As a kid, I struggled with it. I had an argument with my dad when I was 15 because I had a paper round and I'd earned some money of my own, and we were walking through Liverpool city centre, and I gave a tenner to a homeless chap, and my dad was furious, like absolutely furious about it, and I just couldn't understand why he wouldn't want me to give that homeless person £10.
Yeah,
that was my trip. You know, like, what is your problem? I don't get it. You know. And I don't get it. And to this day, and I don't think I ever will, mate, I don't understand how we can happily worship these idiots. People, you know, do. They literally work. People stand outside in the rain for 3 days to get a good spot when one of them's having a silly hat put on their head or something. And it's insane. It's
not as silly as ours.
Not as silly as ours, mate. I don't know, actually, mate. On a scale of 1 to silliness, I think theirs are probably higher up the scale than ours.
Well, yeah.
I mean, mine cost the equivalent of €5 and 10p's worth of tinfoil. So God knows what.
Mine cost me 100 years to get it.
Is that an inheritance hat?
Yeah, this was my great granddad's.
Oh, mate, that's awesome.
Do you know the most popular hat?
It was handed down to my granddad, and then when my granddad died, I stole it, and his son spent about 20 years looking for it. But they're all gone now, so it don't matter.
Oh, fantastic. It's
really?
Yours.
It's mine.
And did you know, in the 1890s, what was the most popular hat in America? And people say the Stetson. It wasn't. It was the bowler hat. You look at Rick Sunkant's kid. You look at the old Western.
Yeah.
They all proper pictures.
Yeah, they do. Always see them with a bowler.
Yeah, true, mate. It's a valid point.
Because did you know the difference between a prostitute and John Wayne? John Wayne had a large prairie hat. Yes. Anyway, we'll go on. Think it through. Takes a little bit of thought.
Moving on.
Don't worry, we'll get there.
Ding ding.
It's not the difference between a baby and a seagull. A seagull flips around the shore. But here we go.
Right, that's enough jokes for now, mate. I think otherwise.
Calm down.
Maybe with a
You'll lose your audience, mate.
Right. Eucreol is a brand of toothpaste. Is it? Never heard of it. Are you in that UK, baby, with a laser, or some foreign place, you know, outside Fockham Hall places, you know?
1 second.
Yeah. Now, Eucreol. Never have you heard of it? No. Now we've got Youth Mole is a different product.
Well, there you go.
Now, my mate, he says here, baby with a rose, says, oh, you are in the UK. Because my mate used to see King Charles regularly on Manchester Beach up the road from Sandringham.
Yeah, just a lovely beach, Brancaster. Used to be marvellous. Used to have a lovely gravel car park that you could park in for free. And then about 15 years ago, they stuck parking meters up and everything. So now I think it's about $5 at a walk your dog.
That coastline's disappearing fast though, and I used to go on holiday at Hemsby, Winted, and Scrapbeak and Caister and all of that, and the coastline's gone. There used to be 4 sets of dunes. There's now half a set.
Yeah, I know.
But the problem is that the villages lay lower than the sea level. So once that last dune goes, the whole lot floods.
Yeah, but
that's it.
That's got nothing to do with climate change, mate. That is a process known as longshore drift. And the sea has always done that, mate, where it takes silt away from one part of the coastline and it moves it along the coastline to somewhere else, mate. It's not.
Do you think, Chris? I mean, I've studied up on that. You know, I know that beach excessively well, and I spent my whole childhood up there. And I mean, whole childhood. We lived up there through school holidays, and it seemed to have changed when they built the windmills off of Caister.
Maybe,
and it seemed like it where that bank's there, it changes the tide angle,
it moves the water,
and that's what stripped the bloody banks to shreds since they've done that.
Yeah, you could well be right, mate. I'm not gonna, say you're not, because that, to me, I mean, those wind farms as well, they're an eyesore, mate. Like when you go to Hunston now and you look out the sea, it's a joke, mate. It's.
Do you know they have an electric motor in them? So to get them going, they start them with an electric motor.
I thought it was diesel, mate.
Well, the diesel might run the electric.
I thought it was they have a diesel engine in them, I think, that kick-starts them into going. And you might be right, then it's an electric one that takes off. But I read somewhere that they've got diesel motors in them, mate, to get them started. I mean, again,
it's priceless, isn't it?
Yeah, I saw a great meme the other day, and it was a picture, and it said, if you think that this, and it was a picture of a load of solar panels or something, is saving the planet and then there was a load of trees or something. I don't know. Anyway, but the point was that,
you're the problem.
Ridiculous. Yeah, exactly. Solar panels, mate. Look at these freaking solar farms that they're building and all the farming land that they're giving over as solar panels, mate. You must know about this. It's ridiculous.
You wait till the end of this year when a food shortage is really kicking. You wait till the end of this year. I would say we're in 6 months. Within 6 months, food is going to be a massive, and I mean massive, issue for the UK, and not just the UK.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right, mate. I can see it.
I mean, you look at all these wind farms and the land of these solar farms. I read a report the other day. It was to do with the 2030 agenda, and it was talking about. There's a section in there where they talk about how much of the land after 2050. How much of the world's land will be down for mining, and it's 30% of the world's covered land will be down for mining for them to be able to fulfill the amount of raw material they need for the batteries, the solar panels, the wind turbines, everything they need.
It's not going to happen, is it, mate? It's not going to happen.
It's fucking comical, isn't it?
Have you seen those? I'm not sure. I'm going to make myself look silly now. There's some... In America, I think it is, there's some company and they put these lists up on the internet and they're like forecasts, and there's something like an insurance broker or something like that, but they do like population forecasts for each country for years to come. And they put some forecasts out about 3 years ago during the nonsense when the medicine was coming out. And they were saying countries like the UK were going to see like an 85% decline in population by the year 2025, 2026. Now, you don't know whether that's got anything to do with things that have happened over the last few years, do you? Well, how they make that forecast or that prediction, or whether they know that there's some kind of Armageddon coming in terms of, like you say, mate, because once people... You saw what people did fighting over bog rolls, mate. You chaps saw that, didn't you? Both of you.
You wait till it's food.
That's what I'm thinking, mate. You wait till they've got nothing in their bellies, nothing in their cupboards. And
I'll tell you what, most parents, if I say adults, would be prepared to skip a meal or two. How many people are going to stand by and watch their kids or grandkids start skipping meals without a riot?
And for me, my dogs as well, mate. You know,
It's coming, mate. I'll tell you, people don't value. People don't value it.
No. Junk food, I think, will be readily available. Shit will be readily available.
Oh, don't worry, there'll be plenty of bugs about.
Yeah,
there'll be plenty of that, and I think that will be they'll be stocking the shelves, because I noticed during the lockdown, you could go into the supermarket and you could get jumbo bags of crisps and shit like that. Easy. There's no fighting over that, and I think that's what they want to do. They just want to give us crap to.
Yep.
For sure.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Well, they've been poisoning us for decades now, haven't they? With the crap that they've passed off as food.
And the pretty clouds in the sky.
Yeah, and they've been doing a lot of that the last few days.
Well, actually, the last 4 days we've had none down in Suffolk.
You lucky man, mate. They've been doing.
I could have got a suntan today. It was like heat
wave. Suntan. You're joking. Yeah. It's bloody freezing.
Heat wave today.
We've had rain, mate.
It didn't see any sun at all today.
But you're on the passport side of the border, aren't you?
That's right. Yeah, that's the other thing. But we got baby with a laser, Derby hat. Really? Is it contagious? Can you get ointment for it?
Maybe that's. I don't know.
Yep.
What a Derby hat
is this a Derby hat? It's a bowler hat. I know that, but I don't know into the Derby.
I know that Manchester did make Stetson hats and exported them to America.
Right.
So that is true. They actually made them.
No reason to
Mark
doubt
Anthony says, where are we? Mark Anthony says F. Yes, maybe. We don't know, because the title of tonight's show is, what is it? Far Governments, Far, QUEUE, Q, you see. And when you think about it, if you wanted to destroy this country, governments have done a brilliant job of it, haven't they? They really have done a genius job. They couldn't do better. With the luminous water in Brancaster. That's interesting.
The
luminous water. The luminous water.
What do you mean?
It's not very clear.
None of the water around North. It's the North Sea, mate.
Yeah, but most of it glows, doesn't it? Because of Sizewell.
Yeah, I guess we don't. Because we're kind of tucked in, aren't we, mate? Where we are.
You're round the corner, aren't you?
Yeah, so we don't really get a lot of that. But then we probably do.
These things have always happened 100%. This is Rob Hollyoak. I think what he means is probably shit that they're putting in the foods. Yeah, but at least it was good shit years ago, not bad shit.
History repeats.
Well, it does. Apparently, years ago, I think in the Victorian times, ice cream was very, very expensive. Very expensive. And it's so expensive that they had a thing called a penny lick. They had like this little glass container. They put a little spoonful of ice cream on there and people would lick it and then give it in and it wouldn't be washed, and then they put another ice cream on it and give it to someone else.
Nice.
Yeah, but you think about it, people of that era lived a long time because they were tough.
Their antibodies were a lot higher than our lot, didn't they? God alive.
Yeah.
Mate,
yeah, the kids fall over, they want to get a baby wipe out and wash bleeding hands, don't they?
Yeah.
Each generation, I think, gets weaker and weaker.
Absolutely.
We go down.
We do.
Yeah.
I would say we are at the point where Western civilization as a whole has gone in the same way as the Romans, the Greeks, the Athenians, the Mongols. It's gone up, and we're over the precipice now, and we're heading down the other side. That's where we are.
I agree, mate. If you look at the end of the Roman Empire, it was filled with sexual deviancy. That chefs were celebrities, quite interestingly as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of comparisons.
History repeats.
It does, mate. I think it's full circle.
I went to the cathedral today to ask for forgiveness. Did I tell you?
You didn't, but you're going to.
I was doing an interview in the Abbey Gardens in Bury St Edmunds today, and it's a beautiful setting, obviously. And the guy had come down from London; he's never been at Bury before. So I said to him, "Well, look, do you want to go and walk around the Abbey?" And I took him around the Abbey and then into the cathedral. And you look at our cathedral is massive, and every pillar is literally precision to the same shape and size as the next one and the next one. And there's 60 pillars hold our cathedral roof up, and hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of windows. The roof joist is just vast. It must be 100 foot tall. I don't believe that no man with wooden scaffolding built that.
Mate, we can build buildings like that today.
They reckon monks built it. Yeah, right.
But there is a belief that, as we were saying before we came on air, that they were healing centres. And it's the same with the pyramids. They reckon that the pyramids were healing centres. They're nothing to do with burial. And because when you look at the seating arrangement in these cathedrals, it looks out of place. It doesn't look right.
No.
It really doesn't look right. And as you were saying, what was it about the Normans?
Well, yeah. So prior to 1066, the main cities all had cathedrals, main towns all had cathedrals, and you would only find what we're going to call a church now, but they were healing centres, and they were only ever on the cross points of ley lines. So they were deliberately put there. When the Normans got here, they had a ring round with a count up of all the churches, as they now call them, all the healing centres, and realised that they could turn them into prayer centres and do away with the healing side. People went into church, prayed to God that they would get better. They'd come out and feel better because of where they'd been, because churches were always made out of one thing: flint. What's flint? Silicon. Silicon's a conductor, so it brings in the atmosphere's electricity. You go inside, it is funneled down the tower, bursts into the church with the lovely light coming through the windows, makes all your hair stand up on end. Why does it do that when you go into church? It's nothing to do with above. It's to do with the fact the electricity is coming down. So they realised that if they put one in every village, they could tax people to go. So they built thousands of churches across the UK as a means to tax people.
So they don't all work then, Mark?
Church? No. If you go into a lot of church, where's the cold? If you go into a church, how many times do you go in? You go, fucking cold in here, isn't it?
Oh, God, yeah. Village
churches especially. If you go to a funeral, for instance, you get that. You always walk in and you're shivering. It's nothing to do with, because it's not on a ley line. If you go into a cathedral or some of the churches, what were bigger built churches, which are built out of flint, that's why the face, if you look at churches, the fascia of the outside, a lot of the flints are cut off. They're not round flints. They're defaced so that it attracts and lets in the electricity.
Right.
And the bells in them, pre-Second World War, were set at a certain frequency. And when it donged, a bit like the meditation dongs, what they have now in Buddhism and so forth, they were set to go off at a certain decibel. After the Second World War, when they'd realised what the bell frequency was, they took all the bells down, destroyed all the bells, and then put all new bells in all the churches at a different frequency.
Right.
So a lot of them, you'll see if you go into a lot of old churches, if they've got the original bells, they'll have a bolt put through them somewhere to just change the frequency a little bit.
Change, right?
Yeah. Okay. And that's what they did.
So kind of like what they did with music was it in the 40s or the 50s when they changed the frequency?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think it was 1700. Early 20th century, wasn't it? I think it was back.
And they changed it from 432, which was resonated with us, didn't it? And it was a beneficial frequency. And what did they change it to? Was it 442 or somebody?
I can't remember. I can't remember.
Chris, Baby with a Laser's come back on in chat with an interesting comment about Brancaster Beach and why the water glows, if you want to have a look at it. Yes,
we'll have a quick go. Where is it now?
It's one of the more recent ones.
Is it about at Brancaster Beach?
Yes, mate. Yeah, just some bit of context.
So at Brancaster Beach, this is Baby with a Laser. The water glows when you disturb it. The locals believe it's nuclear waste. Personally, I think it's some sort of algae. Either way, it does. I've seen it for myself.
I'll know that.
Go now and have a look.
We're going to have a recce, boys. Come on.
I am. I've got to go and have a look.
I'm going to have a look at that. And also, have you know? I mean, I've got barrels outside my house, which collects rainwater, and often it goes into a bucket. And I've noticed sometimes it looks as if someone's squirted some washing up liquid in the.
Yeah,
in the
you get
bucket.
a film,
Does it get
don't
all
you, on the
bubbles?
lid of it?
Yeah, that is bloody interesting. That really is interesting.
Yeah,
And
I
Stig's
think
in.
that is a
Morning all from New Zealand.
Hey, Stig.
Hello, Stig. Oh, by the way, I better put my hat back on. Here we go.
Ah, that's safer.
That's much safer now. We've got Yorkshire Rose. Hang on, from Canada.
Wow.
I think she's originally
Been a while.
Been a while. I hope
Hello,
you're feeling.
Yorkshire Rose.
You was a little Tom and Dick earlier, so I do hope you're a lot better now. It's all due to frequency. Our ancestors understood sound.
Absolutely.
Which, you know, the Longbarrows in Ireland, and well, apparently in the 60s they wanted to do. They started outside broadcasts, and they wanted to do a show. What was it called now? Chronicle or some name they had, this documentary where these sort of like farts sort of walk around that knew everything. They always hold their lapel, everything, all this sort of stuff. Anyway, a sound engineer went into one of these long barrows and he put an oscilloscope on, and he noticed that what was going on in his oscilloscope was identical to what was scribed on the walls. And he believes the long barrows were healing centres.
Yeah,
so
possibly.
They definitely do more than we do.
Yeah,
that's
we've been lied to about so much of it. So
it's interesting because my little boy's 9. I got a phone call from the school the other day, and they said, "Can you come and pick him up?" So when I got there, I said, "What's the matter, fella?" He said, "Well, it's his teacher. She don't know anything." I said, "Well, what seems to be the problem?" He said, "Now bear in mind that his mum took him on holiday a couple of years ago to see the pyramids, so he's seen the vast size of them, and even he concluded there's no way man built those. You know, at 9 years old. Well, he was, you know, not even 8 then." And he said the teacher was trying to tell him that the pyramids were where they buried the pharaohs. And he said, "Well, that's not true." And the teacher argued, and he said, "Look, I've been there. They've never found a pharaoh inside a pyramid yet.
Correct.
They're only,"
True.
he said, "they were either healing centres or places where they built electricity pylons."
Yeah, that's
for energy.
Take. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what they were.
Yeah.
So, he argued with his teacher, and teacher weren't having it. She got him out of the classroom as quick as she could.
Mate, they don't like being questioned. No, I got thrown out of a science class, mate, when I was 12, 13, when they showed me that picture of the ape turning into the man and told me that was evolution. And
evolution.
And I had 100 questions, mate, and it was like, number one, well, where's all the in-between ones now then? Because we've still got apes. So there must be that. If that's what you tell me it is, they must be still going. So where are all the in-betweens? And oh, mate, I got thrown out after 5 minutes. I spent the rest of the lesson sat at a desk in the corridor just because I wouldn't believe it.
The problem is, Chris, that the teachers can't argue because they don't know the answers.
Exactly.
What they do know is what they've been taught to teach you. Yeah. So the minute you question it, they're bollocks.
They're screwed, mate. They're screwed because
that's right. But why haven't apes evolved?
Sorry, Chris.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut in.
No, you're right,
sorry. Carry on. Sorry.
No, you go, my friend. You go.
Now, what I was going to say is, why haven't apes evolved, and why isn't there an ape called Gerald that goes to university?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you remember that sketch of Not the 9 O'Clock News where Mel Smith out there with the ape, and he said, "This is Gerald," and he's talking to the ape, and he says, "Are you savage?" He says, "Savage?" He said, "I was pissed right off when they took me out of the jungle."
I ain't seen that, mate.
Oh, it's
brilliant.
That's where I got it from, Gerald. Yeah, Gerald. He's sitting looking at his nails, isn't he? Yes, he's very posh.
Still on his.
Leg cross. Have to have a look.
Oh dear.
We got here. Was it Cat Holly says Niels Axel Morner is your man on sea levels, and he says they are not rising. Is he dead now? He was alive. I didn't realise that because he was alive as up to about a couple of years ago, I think. Yes, I'm sorry to hear that. He's brilliant, Niels Axel Morner. I hasten to add, I think he's Swedish, Danish, or somewhere like that. Spoke perfect English, and they leak. Rob Hollyoaks says, and they leak grease into the sea.
They leak everything into the sea.
What's that? Your windmills or
Deagle?
I reckon so. Yeah, the windmills do considerably.
And then we got
kill a lot
here
of birds, don't they?
Yorkshire Roasters. I'm in Canada and our supermarkets are almost empty with very little choice.
I saw a thing online the other day where they were charging 45 Canadian dollars for a vegetable platter. Way, cheerio. Hey, come back. There he is. Yeah, $45 for a simple vegetable platter with some carrots, some celery, some cucumber. Insane. Like I don't know what 45 Canadian dollars is in English money, but I'm guessing it's more than 20 quid still.
Well, I know that someone was saying that in America, in the part of America they're in, one of my mates, he was saying that he paid $25 for a dozen eggs.
Wow.
Spiraling out of control.
Yeah. Why is everybody saying Deagle?
Yeah.
Deagle. What's Rob Oak says Deagle? Cat says Deagle. Really?
Explain to us, boys and girls, what's Deagle?
Deagle, don't know. Now it says bicarbonate of soda and coconut oil for toothpaste, really good. But be careful because a certain manufacturer that deals and communist sort of hammers, apparently it's supposed to be synthetic. They make there's natural bicarbonate of soda and synthetic bicarbonate of soda, and apparently allegedly the people that make the toothpaste that is artificial.
Probably,
mate. Allegedly, I don't know. I checked it out, but
nothing surprising.
Nah, nothing.
This one out because it's a word that will sound the loud hailers at YouTube HQ. Customers for and you know what? That's Rob. Then we've got deprive a man of 3 meals and you have anarchy. Napoleon.
Yeah.
Well, Napoleon said you're only 3 meals away from anarchy, didn't he?
That's right.
I tell you what. People talk to me about growing their own food, and I always say this: if you think about food, if you've got a person, they have 1,000 meals a year, 3 meals a day, 365 days. It's 1,000 meals, you can say, for each person in the house. And people say, "I've got some tins put away." How many tins do you need to make a meal? Right?
Yeah.
And times that by 1,000 for one person, you need a hell of a lot of food, guys. Hell of a lot of food put away,
mate. The tinned food for me is the stopgap between.
Yeah, I agree.
When I can get shit, because I know from my limited experience last year, mate. The first time I seriously grew veg since I was a teenager, and I learned a lot last year, Mark. I made a lot of mistakes, but what I did realise is I can get big yields in a tiny little space, mate, just using pots and even carrier bags if I have to. But if the shit hits the fan, mate, and I've made sure that I've got lots of seeds of things that you can grow within 4 weeks and 3 weeks and have spring onions, radishes, things like that, things that you can chuck them. They're the easiest things in the world to grow, mate. I don't even like radishes, but
you will if you're hungry.
Exactly, mate. If it gets to that point where I need something that I can eat in 4 weeks, I'm not going to care what it is, mate.
No, I agree.
So for me, I feel like we're ready for that. We're ready for it, mate. And it isn't going to be
I am. And I'll tell you something else. This time of the year is brilliant to eat dandelions. I have to eat a dandelion with every meal. And
I'll tell you what, you won't have a heart attack if you eat them.
No, they're supposed to be really good for you, and they're good for the soil as well. If you've got dandelions there, they're doing the soil a lot of good. And the reason they're there is because the soil's not so good in the first place, and they've almost popped up to help you fix everything in nature. This is the thing, and I think about this even more because I pull weeds, I pull dandelions up for people all the time, and I think to myself sometimes, now I'm not doing a good thing here. These should be left. These are good. They're
take them home and eat them.
Yeah, I learned something.
And you can also boil the root.
Today. Sorry, Chris. While we're on the subject, I didn't realise you could eat marigold flowers until today.
Yeah. And daffodils.
Yes, mate. I didn't know about daffodils, Mark. But
yeah, you can eat daffodils. You just mustn't eat the bits inside the trumpet.
right,
You can eat all the leaf, but all the flower, but you just can't eat the little wispy
stems.
bit.
Yeah, the little stem bits in the middle.
Yeah, you can't eat that. But apart from that, you can eat.
Marigolds
are beautiful.
they?
They do them on pizzas and all sorts overseas.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, and pansies. Pansies, yeah, you can eat pansies.
Mate, marigolds are the sort of thing that once you get them in your garden, you'll have them year after year after year.
Yeah, the seeds stay.
They're great at self-seeding and spreading. They're like lamb's ears, mate. They just spread everywhere.
Do you know if you grow tomatoes in a greenhouse and you put the marigolds in between the tomatoes, they stop you getting green fly?
Right.
They're a companion plant, so if you put them in the green fly don't like them, so you never get green fly. We do it on the veg beds and all sorts. Plant them in between all the vegetables.
I learned as well that if you plant tomatoes...
What about ants? How do you get rid of ants?
Don't know.
Because we're plagued where I live. My neighbour's got them ants. Just can't get rid of the bastards.
They don't hurt your veggies, though, do they, Chris?
Yeah.
Well, they've affected my roses because they
do. They like the roses, don't they?
I like roses. They'll chew bits.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually, I'm using peppermint tea bags in the water because I can't stand peppermint. But little bastards, I think they've got a gas mask and, they walk around little pegs on their noses. But I found out
if you soak rose flowers overnight in the water and then drink the water, that's really good for your heart and your digestive system.
I've heard that about rose water being good for you. Yeah. Rose petal water. Just what I was quickly going to say as well, Chris, just on that companion plant thing. I believe that if you grow tomatoes in with cabbages and cauliflowers, it helps to keep the cabbage moths away. Have you ever heard that, Mark?
No, I can't say I have.
Apparently, they don't like the smell. You have, Chris, because we talked about it on the show before. But yeah, apparently tomatoes in the middle of cabbages and I'm going to try it, mate.
The best three to grow together is sweet corn, runner beans, and some sort of squash or pumpkins or something like that, because the corn goes up, the beans grow up the corn, and the squash covers all the weeds in the bottom. It's brilliant.
Wow.
Brilliant.
Ingenious. Yeah.
That is genius.
And people say, oh, you need so much space. You don't. You just need to know what you're doing. When you think that wheat crops out about 6 ton an acre, so you look at the amount of food you can physically get out of 1 acre, 6 ton, right? And what can you do with, wheat apart from make bloody flour, really, or, not a lot else. If you grow vegetables, you can get 60 ton an acre.
Yeah, I believe that.
Of actual food. Yeah. And that's, if you've got real fertile land, where it's had lots of organic matter into it, you can get 100 ton an acre because you can crop so many things on top of each other. And, with wheat, you get 1 crop a year. If you plant salad and veg, you might get 4 or 5 crops a year.
Yeah.
And like you said, 3 weeks for spring onions and radishes. How many of them can you grow in the summer? Mate, 3 weeks.
We had spring onions out the garden tonight with our salad. Yeah. Easiest thing in the world to grow.
So easy.
Yeah.
And actually, I find tomatoes are easy as well. I don't even bother buying the packs. I just squash up a tomato down. In fact, what I do, I cut a tomato, just put some fertilizer over the top and leave it. But they've taken 3 weeks to germinate this year. 3 weeks. Normally they're up in about a week. But this is an interesting one. Derby hat, which is baby with a laser, is the American for a bowler hat.
Oh, I'm well in there then.
That's it. So I've learnt something there.
Derby.
A Derby hat. Yeah. And Herodotus Getfucked said, we remove tons and tons of sand from the seabed for building. How will that affect the shore? That's how bloody good.
I didn't even know that, Chris. Is that right?
Nor did I, because I didn't think you could build with sea salt, because I thought it's full of salt in it.
Yeah, I thought they got it out.
No, I wouldn't.
I thought it came out of
Well,
I don't
if
know.
it does,
I mean, look, I'm prepared to admit how ignorant I am. But I didn't realise.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not saying you're wrong, Herodotus. I just didn't know that.
Yeah, but the thing is, the salt causes efflorescence in mortar. That's why if you have a sand pit and people pee in the sand pit, use it as a lavatory. When you lay the bricks, you're going to get efflorescence up the wall, and that's why you get all that white up the wall. It's from salts from the urine in the sand. Yes, and sometimes it comes
Here's
out
a fact for you. Did we discuss this last time? You know what that AdBlue's made of?
You told us, but remind us, because I forgot.
Piss.
Pig piss. That's it. Lovely.
Urea.
Lovely.
Brilliant.
AdBlue. Pink piss. That's nice. We've got another one here from Baby with a Laser at Brancaster Beach. Oh, hang on. Sorry, we've this one out.
We've done that one, mate.
We've done that one, right.
Yeah. I'm going to have to
it
go
says,
and check
Baby with a Laser. I have mates who live in Norfolk. One in Burnham Market.
Very nice.
The other lived in North Creek and now Fakenham. Go there a lot.
Nice, baby. Burnham's very nice. They call that Chelsea by the Sea.
Yeah.
Burnham Market. It used to be a very nice,
posh area.
But it's got really posh in the last 30, 40 years. Yeah, it didn't used to be.
You know, a friend of mine just sold their sea hut down at Felixstowe. You know, these little beach huts.
Yeah, go on.
Wooden beach huts. £70,000 they just got for it.
Not surprised, mate. Not surprised. I've seen them
sold it to a London couple.
Yeah, I've seen them go for over
70,000 quid for a beach hut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, they clear 100 sometimes, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This wasn't even a nice one in a nice area.
No.
70k.
Yeah, they're insanely expensive. Even round here, mate, you're talking thousands.
Yeah.
Like there's a load at Old Hunston, and one of the local learning disability charities have got one, but they got theirs years ago when they were cheap. But you know, I don't know what they go for now, mate. But you're talking thousands.
Really? Why not buy a van and convert it inside? Don't put any windows in it, and then all you have to do is just back up to us, open the rear doors, and have a sea view wherever you want. You can change it every day, then, can't you?
You can't leave it on the beach when the sea comes in, though, Chris.
Well, you could do it. It'd be a bit of a laugh, wouldn't it?
Good.
Well, I'll tell you what, all them cars were floating down the river in Dubai, I'll be surprised.
Have you just quickly, because you brought that up, Mark, so we're going to have to touch on that. Now, what I found interesting about that was for years and years and years, anyone who thinks that they can modify the weather has wearing one of these. All right, you've got one of these on. If you think you can modify the weather, you're wearing one of them. And now all of a sudden, they've had this flood in Dubai, and on all the papers, they're saying not due to cloud seeding.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
And when they
why would you need to tell everyone they're not doing it?
Exactly. That I found quite interesting because I saw some footage of that. That was insane. Cars floating down the street. And stuff,
mate.
Man.
Well, they had like 2 years worth of water inside an hour, didn't they? Or something?
Inside an hour, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah. 10 inches, wasn't it?
I remember we were watching the planes trying to take up off on the airstrip, and the wheels were underwater.
I know. I saw it, mate. I saw one of a plane. You couldn't even see the wheels. You could just see the poles attached to the plane. So yeah, that was interesting.
I noted it.
Probably just a little bit of distraction pie for us. You know, they like to play games, but I thought that was quite interesting.
The rules are you've got to tell people what you're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah,
that's right.
They've always done that.
The magic don't work unless you know what's going on.
No, because then because in their eyes we've acquiesced. If they put it out
we've
there
allowed
and
it to
told us,
happen. Yeah.
Then we know about it. We've been told, and we're just letting it happen. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with. I think David Icke was the first one to come out with that, wasn't he? And I'd agree with him there.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be some very bad weather conditions in Iran somehow. Do you get that feeling?
I think you're right.
Me. Or an earthquake, maybe.
Earthquake.
It happened in Turkey, didn't it, when they wanted to get rid of the American air base?
Yes, it's very convenient, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
But mind you, this is something in Cambridgeshire. I used to work with a bloke who lived in Cambridge, and he said there was an American Air Force base there. I can't remember which one it was, but it's in the middle of nowhere. And the locals got fed up with when the American bigwigs came out. American military policeman would stand in the middle of the road, put his hand up like this to get the bloke in his limousine, the big colonel or big white chief, to hold the traffic up so he could, so he wouldn't be delayed trying to get out of this Air Force base. And the locals didn't like it. So what they used to do is when they saw a bloke, the white helmets on, didn't they? And the white thing. When they saw one like this, they used to put their foot down and put their hand on the horn and just aim at this MP. For sunset to get out of the way. And after that, the American bigwigs had to wait until the coast was clear to come out of the Air Force base because the locals wouldn't stop. Quite
right.
Anyway, here, this is a good one. Those bells, Yorkshire Rose in Canada. I think Yorkshire Rose, excuse me, being, I think you're probably originally from Yorkshire. Those bells have all gone now.
Whatever gives you that idea.
But they were very soothing. And this is an interesting one. South Coast Rich. Hello, South Coast Rich. Evening, gents, and everyone in chat. Chris, I've just subscribed to Rumble and your channel. Oh, thanks, mate. That's really, really much appreciated. No, seriously, that really is appreciated. So you're the one that subscribed. Are there any recent videos on there which you haven't put on YouTube? Watching tonight's show later, by the way. What's going to happen is tomorrow, about 3 o'clock, between 3 and 4 o'clock, I'm going to be on with Nathan, and we're going to, don't worry, it's not going to be a proper show as such. And anybody else, you know, if you're free, Chris, or, you know, Bowler Hat Farmer, if you're free, we're going to do some tests, and we're going to just test out, because tonight I was going to go exactly the same. I was going to have the show on Rumble as well as YouTube, but it went tits up. My fault. But hopefully next week it'll be multi-platform. And what we're hoping to do is start a radio show on Rumble where we'll be a little bit more loose-lipped. We can say things that we can't say on YouTube, and we might actually go for video as well. We don't know. It won't be this is set regularly every Monday, but I don't think we can. I tried doing a Thursday show some time back and it didn't work. It's too much hard work. So it'll be, shall we say, a bit of a hodgepodge on Rumble. But what I'm going to do is announce when a show's going to come on Rumble on the Monday show, so people will know. Tune in about between 3 and 4 tomorrow, and you'll see a couple of soppy sods on there going, oh, I think we do this, we do that, oh, let's try this and try that. So we do I wouldn't say it's a show, but we're going to be doing tests on there. And it's going to be Fulham Hall Radio on there.
More calling Orson. Come in, Orson.
Now, it's just here, Deagle. I thought it was pronouncing the word beagle with a hair lip. Deagle is a military contractor website. And Baby with a Laser says the Deagle Index is the one that predicts population.
That's that thing I was talking about.
You were talking about it before. That's what it is.
Bless you, Baby with a Laser. That's the one. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. You should have a look, Mark. It's fascinating, mate. Like all the countries, like USA, European countries, Britain, Australia.
I don't know if you're. I don't know if you're familiar with this new thing. It's just Neil McCoy Ward was talking about it today. This is the 2050 agenda.
Yes,
where
I did see that, mate.
The big part of America is not going to have any population. That's what they call it, it's a public free area or something.
Non-human settlement zones.
That's right, non-human settlement areas.
Yeah, I have been aware, and I'm not blowing my own trumpet, mate. I've been aware of that one for quite some time.
Yeah, I have. I saw it.
Yeah. That's the continuation of 2030, basically. So we've got 2030, which is the jumping off point, and 2050, if you like, is the ultimate game. But the control they want to start in 2020. It's interesting, isn't it, that it's changed, because it was agenda, wasn't it originally Agenda 21, was it, or something
Agenda
like
21
that? And then it moved to Agenda 2030, and obviously they even now recognize, well, we're not going to get it all in for 2030. So if we say that we want to be here by 2030, but what we really want, and that's the plan, mate, is to pen us all in to, and you'll be told you can't go here, you can't go there, you can't live the way
15-minute cities are coming.
You live in this box, This is the food you're going to eat. There was a really, and I can't remember, I might have seen it on a Jeff Berwick podcast, Dollar Vigilante. I might have seen it on there, but it was a little cartoon, and it was done during the nonsense. And it was a guy basically his house was a one-room thing with a bathroom off one side, and he had a bed, and your food was delivered by drone. And when you went out on your balcony, you had
I saw that.
Yes.
Did you see
it? He escaped right at the end in the garbage truck, didn't he?
Yeah. And it was, honestly, I cried at times watching that, mate. It was brilliant. But it was like, I felt like it was so well done. And it was like, you watch that, and if you've got any kind of insight, that's what they want.
Yeah.
That's where we're going, mate. If we don't...
We ain't.
No, we're going in the camps,
that's right.
mate.
But did you know?
I was going to say, we'll be rounded up.
yeah, we will, mate.
Well, the population has been reducing since after the First World War. And Germany knew about it, and they're trying to do something about it. But what it is, we're not having enough children. So we're actually heading towards extinction. This idea of overpopulation is rubbish.
Of course it is. Go to Japan. They've got they're already experiencing it in Japan. They've got a crisis because they've got an elderly population and not enough young people to look after them or provide services for them. And I don't know what's gone on in Japan, because that's a country that's got an extremely interesting history. There are cultural things in Japan that there are nowhere else in the world. It is a very unique country, and it is still very much Japanese, indigenous Japanese people. There aren't many foreign people in Japan. I mean, to the point, there are areas in Japan that you can go to, like parts of the red light district, where if you're not Japanese, you're not welcome. Pure and simple. They have signs on the door that says no foreigners, you know. So it's an interesting country, Japan, but they have got, I think, possibly the biggest birth rate problem in the world at the moment. I think, and couples don't copulate. They don't. There's a lack of men and women becoming engaged in meaningful relationships and having children.
Well, Elon Musk said about this a couple of years ago on an interview, and they said, about the population growing, and he said it isn't.
No.
And he was blunt about it. He said the population is decreasing. They don't want you to know that because of all the things they put in place to depopulate the planet.
Yeah. And
it's right. If you take allegedly certain medical interventions, what were done over the past few years, it's a lot of the girls are losing babies. A lot of the men can't produce semen. And you look at it and you go, and how many kids are now being encouraged to be the opposite sex to what they are?
That's what I was just about to say, mate. And
you look at all of these things, and suddenly the population's dropped by 20%.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. And I'll tell you something. Bangladesh is a perfect example. This is off the top of my head, so please check this out. From memory, I think it was in 1970, the average woman in Bangladesh gave birth to 5 children. It's now something like 1.25 because they've increased the middle class. And when you increase the middle class and bring in electricity, then the population reduces. Because that's right, they're too busy looking. But no, seriously, they want the goodies in life. And if they have children, they're not going to get the goodies in life. And apparently, now I think it's the African and Indian populations are still going up, but they're tailing off. And there's parts of Africa and India where there's not enough young people. There's villages that are almost deserted. And I know that in Italy, they've got deserted villages where there's no young people.
Yeah, they'll pay you to go there.
Yeah. And I think Russia is the same. They're actually wanting farmers to go to Russia. They're desperate because there's not enough. And
how much are they paying?
I don't know how much they're paying, but there's an English bloke that's gone there. He can speak Russian. Yeah, he was actually.
I think it's important to interject and say as well that a lot of what's happening, especially in places like Africa, I'm not going to say the name, but there's a foundation and it's named after them things they put in fences that open up to let you in and out. So, and they've got a foundation, him and his wife, stroke husband, wife, husband, whatever it was. And but they've done a lot of work in Africa, mate, and India over the last 30 years potentially. I mean, look at what happened in India with the polio. The medicine that they had for polio over there.
Africa was AIDS.
I was going to say they were kicked out of India by the Indian government, mate, because there were a massive increase in the number of children that were getting polio from the oral medication that they were given by the thing that opens in fences foundation.
I like that. That's good. The thing that opens fences. Yes.
Yeah.
I like that.
We don't want to set any klaxons off by saying that.
That's a brilliant one. That is,
mate, off the cuff. But my point is that everything that's happening, it's not an accident. You look at things like ibuprofen that can have detrimental effects on male fertility. What do most men carry around next to their ball bag in their pocket?
Mobile phone.
Do you see where I'm coming from? Like you say, Mark, I think you're right. I think it probably is already going down and they don't want us to know about it.
Yeah.
Because then they're showing their hand a bit too soon, perhaps.
Yeah.
But everything, the food that people buy, the food that they're allowed to sell and call food, all these things, they're not accidents. This is something that's been in play for decades.
100 years at least.
Yeah. I think they've had an agenda for thousands of years. Their agenda adapts. Whatever they are, and I don't think they're human, but whatever they are obviously susceptible to the same. They've got the fallibility that we have as well. They're not perfect. They obviously have not had a perfect agenda, and I think the agenda moves and I think it's like a game of cat and mouse maybe for them, isn't it? We start to cotton onto something and we all move this way, so they then have to change things to create another tunnel for us to go in over there. Or
I think there's two things need saying on this. One is you're talking about the Russian side of things. What do you call a Russian with three balls? Who'd you nick a bollock off?
Sorry, mate. I said it without thinking. No, I shouldn't have.
Or the first Russian to slide down a 10-foot razor blade. It's half a bollock off, wasn't it? Sorry.
No, I do think you're right, though, Chris. I think that we've seen the height of the population, and comes back to what I was saying earlier about, we're over the top of where we are. And I think as a civilization, 1,000 years ago, when the Romans were in charge, they probably had a massive population decrease because of the amount of wars they fought and where they would lose 60, 100,000 people over 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And, and now, I mean, rumor has it that, since certain things have happened since 2020, a lot of people are no longer with us, shall we say?
That's not a rumor, is it? I'm sure we've all experienced some of that. I know I have. I had a friend that was
a lot.
And I won't say too much, but I had a friend, a guy I've known since sixth form. Yeah, not him. His missus, 39 years old, heart attack, and they got her down to Papworth, and her heart literally exploded on the operating table.
Yeah.
And I could sit here for half an hour and start reeling off people that I have either known or known of, or people I've known that have known. I can think of one example, a chap that I used to support. His dad was found in bed, fully clothed. He'd obviously gone for a lie down, and his daughter found him the next morning just lying there in bed. I mean, he was 72, but he was healthy. There was nothing wrong with him. He weren't, he was a sound chap. And then about a year and a half, 2 years later, his 18-year-old grandson just dropped dead.
I think what we will see is, because the numbers are going like that. So I think what will happen is, 2020, when we were all telling people not to do certain things because of what might happen, that wasn't when it was going to happen.
No, I never thought that, mate.
I think it will happen in the next 5 years, and we'll end up with, this massive skyrocket, exponential year on year will just grow and grow and grow.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think you could be right.
Especially if they turn on 5G.
Also, once upon a time, you'd go out and you'd see 1-2 ambulances in a year, if that, with the blue lights. Now, every time, with very brief exception, I see an ambulance with blue flashing lights all the time.
And not black transit vans with just blacked out windows. They're everywhere now.
Yeah, I know. Not so much now. I've got to be honest, because it isn't so much now. We don't see them as much. But a couple of years ago, when they were giving out medicine, me and Jess, we couldn't drive between Dersenham and Kings Lynn, which is a 7-8 mile journey, without seeing an ambulance with its lights, either coming from behind us to come overtake us or going the other way. Now, there is a hospital on that road, sort of a bit further down, but this was just unprecedented. It was
but they were taking somebody there, weren't they?
Yeah, it was either going to pick one up or coming back with one, but that was mental. Every time we got in the car and drove to Lynn, we would see an ambulance. At least one would pass us one way or the other, sometimes 2 or 3.
Well, the amount of people I know from the medical profession that have got out of it as a direct result of what they know is frightening.
What was interesting with the medicine was that what I learned was that the more senior you went up the sort of ranks, so the more senior consultants, the take-up rate was a lot less the higher up the ladder you went, which I thought was quite interesting. Yeah, I found that quite interesting, though.
Do you know what the maths behind it all was? And I read an article at the time, so I can't necessarily remember the maths, but for every jibby jab they gave, the person delivering it got £15.
The practice didn't they? They were giving GPs, yeah.
Well,
they were
no. This was the person who dished it.
Oh,
the practice got £1,000.
Right.
The local hospital they're responsible to got £100,000, and the Suffolk the county council they sat under got £1 million for every jab.
Where did you learn this, Mark? I'm not doubting you, mate, but
that was some piece of research I found at the time when I was digging deep about who was being paid what, and it was phenomenal money what the NHS were getting paid.
I'm not surprised, because again, money is nothing. They can just print. They
print it. It doesn't make no difference, does it?
It's
not backed against anything, is it?
Don't they? Yeah.
You know, and they say, "Oh, there's all this land grab going on." Well, it don't matter how much the land's grabbed, does it?
Plug for Foxbox.
You know, it doesn't matter how much the land grab is and how much it costs. If you need to raise 10 billion, you just ring your mate who's the printer and say, "Do me some more."
This is what we talked about before. Money is not, their ambition is not money. Their ambition is assets and control.
Yeah.
And money is the tool that they use to keep us all underneath them. But it's never about money. It's about, it's right, follow the money, but you follow the money and you learn who wants the control, because that's what it...
Think about this, Chris. Think about this. I think what will happen is they'll pay us all as much as we want to buy the assets we've got, land, valuables, whatever that might be, and then they'll crash what we can. So if you sell your house and you get £1 million for your house and land, and you've got £1 million in the bank, and they've got the assets, you've got the money, then you crash the money, and that person's got nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and that's what's coming.
Oh, I agree with you. That's what they're going to do.
Yeah. I had an interesting conversation. I'll just tell you this quickly. I did speak to you the other night. I was talking about this offline earlier. I am a holder of XRP, which is a digital currency. Okay, and it's a bit like Bitcoin, but it's the very baby one, and it's what the banks are going to use in the future for transferring cash from one country to another. So it's the intermedium, right?
Right.
So all the banks have signed up to use this worldwide. Every bank in the world has signed up to use a thing called XRP. So if you're into buying digital currency, buy XRP. Right. I was with a guy the other night who came and spoke to me after I did my speech in Ipswich, and he's a programmer on the blockchain for Ripple, which is the company that has designed XRP. And he said, we've been stress testing the system, and within the next 8 to 12 weeks, they will drop the financial system, and change over to this new one.
Right. See, I'm going to respectfully disagree with you, Mark, and say don't buy XRP, because I have a problem with crypto, mate, any kind of online currency. And my problem with it is That is too easy for them to just switch that baby off and put the plug on it.
Oh, I agree.
And I think if you've got spare money, like that, you were prepared to put £100 on a three-legged horse, and you've got this £100 that you don't want, yeah, by all means, get some crypto, have a go, you know. But in terms of like people, because there are people, oh God, this bloody stuff. There are people on the internet that will have you believe it is the answer to all your problems, and that crypto is going to save the world, and it's this.
No,
it's
just another thing.
Yeah, but
I've got gold, I've got silver, I've got assets, but
exactly.
So the crypto is, and you know, if you want to buy anything, buy food.
Yeah.
Because in the next 6 months, it'll be the most valuable asset on the planet.
Tangible assets, mate, batteries, candles, things as well that you can barter and trade. I would suggest that tobacco, even if you're not a smoker, tobacco is probably a good thing to have a little stockpile of, because tobacco is something that you know, when the shit hits the fan, people like me are going to want tobacco.
Yeah, coffee, alcohol, chocolate.
Yeah,
tradable assets.
Mate. Yeah.
You're absolutely spot on, and I think we need to look at places like Germany after World War II, where people were starving, and because more Germans died after World War II than during the war, and there's a lot of starvation there, which they've hidden a lot. And what people do and how they you know, survive. Apparently, I heard from a German person that when a person went out, they went out with a knife on them. So if they saw a dead horse or anything like that, they carved meat off of it and bring it home.
Yeah.
And but there wasn't people dying in the streets.
Like goes.
So, yeah. Well, funny enough, we're talking about these what they call it, trains do flop and all this stuff. I was in a place where every little helps. I forgive me, oh bowler head farmer. For I have sinned. I have walked into the house of ill repute, commonly known as Tesco's.
I'm banned from my local one.
Are you really?
I got banned because I put on social media saying that how bad they were as a company. So they banned me from my local store.
Awesome. That's a badge of honour, mate.
That's what I said.
Definitely.
I would say to them, fuck them whole. You know?
What were you doing in Tesco's today, Von Essex?
Well, not today. It was a couple of days ago, and there was a woman walking around. I presume it was this person's mother, and there was a youth. I would say about 14 years old, 15, and obviously a boy. And he had a very deep voice. His voice had broken, and he had long hair down the back. A pair of looked like army boots on, and a dress.
What's your problem, you bigot?
You know, and he's walking around, and I think he's probably got into all this, you know, you can be anything you want type of thing.
Can you imagine if they do national subscription or call up in the future? Nails.
Mate, I've got to be honest with you. I ain't got a problem with that in terms of like you do you know, if that's what makes you happy. But it's when they start chopping people about. Well, no, not even that.
Youth
Chris
has actually been brainwashed, because I do feel
this
very
is
sorry for people
the fact
that have got a problem.
It's not
there are people who've definitely got a problem, and I feel sorry for them. But
it's a mental condition, mate. Gender dysphoria has always been recognised up until 5 years ago. It was a recognised mental condition. That's exactly what it was. And if you had gender dysphoria, the first place you were going to be treated was mental health services.
Absolutely.
And that was and I'm not being a bigot. I'm not being hateful. I'm just telling people how it was.
As it is. Yeah.
It is. This is the facts. This is what we did up until about 5-10 years ago or whatever. My problem is with children being brainwashed into thinking that they're a certain way when they're not. And there's going to be a lot of young men who were probably gay, but they were convinced when they were 11, 12 years old that they weren't gay. They were a woman trapped in a man's body.
Yeah,
and they're going to be conned into having all kinds of interventions and surgeries that are going to change them for the rest of their lives, and mean that they're going to need medical intervention for the rest of their life. Because when you have an operation like that, it don't end with the operation, because when you create a hole, that hole wants to seal up. And that's what your body will try and do. So you need further operations to maintain that hole, if you want to call it that. And the same with you know, the other way around, when they have dangly bits created when there weren't dangly bits there before. That isn't the end of the story. You're going to get a lot of infections and it's not going to work properly. And, you know, this is the thing. That's my problem, is we've gone. There used to be a guy walk around Kingsland Centre when I was a kid, transvestite, tall bloke, skinny tall bloke, didn't look anything like a woman. But every day he'd be walking around town dressed as a woman. I'll tell you what, I had a lot of respect for that guy, because here was somebody who clearly had balls in terms of, you know what I mean? They got some guts.
In more ways than one.
In more ways than one, but that took guts. And that was who that person wanted to be. And that was what made them happy. Yep. And I, as a kid, was...
I haven't got a problem with that.
No, never mocked them or took
But what I have a problem is children being brainwashed. I have a big problem with that.
That's the beef, isn't it?
Be natural, because children, when they go through puberty, they do have very strange views and things. I mean, I looked at record collection.
Time, mate.
It is a confusing time. That's what angers me. You know, I mean, I'm glad I was brought up very innocent. You know, you discovered girls naturally, and you know, I thought, oh, that's interesting. You know, you suddenly lost interest in I don't know, Airfix kits and.
Well, have you heard this? The World Economic Forum want to all kids as of free now have to have sexual education classes.
No,
as of free, they've got to be taught how to masturbate and how to enjoy being touched, and that it's acceptable for someone to touch you like that. Mark, is it? Fuck, you touch my kids and grandkids, I'll kill you.
Yeah, that's part of the normalisation, or the attempted normalisation of paedophilia. And that's why they've started calling them minor attracted persons instead of paedophiles. Yeah. And again, it's a softer language. They're trying to make it, because they've been doing it for hundreds of years. Yeah. And it's part of their culture, and it's part of what they do. You know, their rituals. We know what goes on. We know what they do. We all know they love her. You know, they've never met a paedophile they don't love. So this is what I think. My belief is that this is part of the softly approach to try and normalize.
I 100% agree.
Something that we know is repugnant and wrong, and there are no minor attracted persons. There are just paedophiles. Yeah. And you can dress it up in all the fancy language you want, but you know, they are what they are.
Still a noncy bastard.
Yeah, and they're even trying to say that the ones that don't actually do anything are all right. You know, like in terms of like people have that, but it's okay because I don't act on them. You shouldn't even be talking about them. Look, if you do have them thoughts, I feel sorry for you. But if that was me, I'd just want to bury that. I wouldn't want to talk about it. No, exactly. Like, Jesus, there's something wrong with me. Why am I thinking about kids like that?
I do feel sorry for people that do and are open and then try and get treatment for it. I do feel sorry for them. And there was a bloke on a documentary once that said he has these urges for children, and he was he wanted a psychiatrist to help him. He needed help, and he said, it's wrong. I shouldn't have these urges. I feel sorry for those, because they've generally been damaged during childhood.
I was just about to say, a lot of people that are interfered with do go on to interfere.
Absolutely.
It's a chain. And we have to recognise that nothing's black and white. Nothing. You know, there's shades of grey in everything. So you can't just say that all paedophiles are bad, because I guess like I say, there are situations where some people... I've supported people before that have worked in what they call forensic services, which is where you literally are like a jail warder as a support worker. You have a bunch of keys attached to you. Everything's locked away. The second you come home, you go in, you lock the door. They're not allowed keys. They're not allowed out the front door unsupervised and things like that. And I can't say a lot, but I've worked with people that were buried alive in prison for 20 years for something that if you or me did it, we'd be out in 3 years because the state didn't know what to do with them. And you read these care plans, and if you don't cry, you're not a human being. Some of the things these people have been through, and they've then gone on to offend because that's what they've learned. Yeah, and, it's horrible. I mean, it's tragic. So I recognise it's not black and white.
Well, look at that. But murderer, what was his name? Well, he murdered someone. A chap called, I think it's Jimmy Boyle, and he was a gangland leader in Glasgow, and he went to prison, and a psychiatrist, the woman psychiatrist, fell for him. And when he came out of prison, she realised that he wasn't a psychopath. It was just the conditions he was brought up with, and he did his time, and he felt forgiveness. He not forgiveness. He felt guilt for what he'd actually done.
He felt remorseful. He
felt remorseful, and he worked to try and stop kids going the same way as he did. Yeah. He did a lot of good. Now, if we'd have had the death sentence, that would have been it. So I think, you know, everything isn't just black and white. Every case is on its own, you know. But changing the subject slightly.
Hour and 35 minutes.
That's right. And we've got Yorkshire Rose. Yes, I'm doing a lot better. She was a bit Tom and Dick. Thank you, Chris. That's so kind of you. Oh, thank you. And
please I hope you're feeling better, Rose.
That's right.
Because I remember Yorkshire Rose, the first 2 podcasts that I did with you back in last summer, Yorkshire Rose commented, and then I don't think I've heard from her since on a podcast. Right. So I'm pleased that you're doing better, Rose. Sincerely, yes. I am.
Yes, she's suffering from the Prime Minister, I think, over there, who's, well, quite honestly, he makes, he's slightly left Chem in Mal, isn't he?
Chris, put your next comment off before we have a 45-minute diversion on Trudeau. Because I could say a lot about Trudeau. I really could.
Yes.
So I think we all can.
Oh, yes, yes. Seeing those forecasts of population, laugh out loud. Deagle, yes, yes. Because there's a Danish or Swedish bloke who says, there's a load of old cobblers, we are in serious trouble of wiping ourselves out, lack of population. Deagle made forecasts for the 29-25 population counts over all the countries across the planet, US and UK, are to be down by 2/3, he reckons. And Yorkshire
we won't be here by then, boys. It won't.
No, we won't.
No,
not in this form, anyway, mate.
No, tinned food is dead. I agree with you there.
Yeah,
but it's better than nothing.
Exactly.
It feels the tummy.
Yeah. And that's what it's there for. The point of the tin food is it's just to get us through. It's never intended to be like, I'm going to sit here when the apocalypse comes, I'm just going to sit here and eat tin food. That is not my plan. The tin food is just to get me through to a point where I can go full on. Because let's face it, when the whatever happens, I ain't going to be going around doing people's gardens anymore, am I?
No,
that ain't going to be their primary concern, you know. And
you will be out scavenging for food, basically.
I will. Do you know
but tin food is basically shall we say, a base level that can keep you going. That's basically.
Yeah, I'll be looking out, Chris. I'll be looking out for the people around me, mate. The people who live near to me. That's what I'll be doing, and I'll be trying to form some form of local cooperative where we look out for each other's security, we look out for each other's needs. That's my plan, mate. I already speak to most of the people down my street, if only just to say hello, but we speak, and I get on really well with the people that are immediately around me, apart from her next door, who cannot stand our guts, but that's a very long story and we won't go into that. But you know, I've already started to do that, mate. We've started to make relationships with local people, and that to me is the answer. Is you need to get together with the people. It doesn't matter who they are. The people around you are going to be the most important people, because you won't be able to get petrol or go and see your mum in Norwich or whatever. You're going to be an option. There ain't going to be like, you know, it is really, I believe that when it happens, it's going to properly happen. And it is.
And very quickly it'll happen.
Yeah.
It'll happen very quickly.
Yeah. And also you will be able to get junk food though with ease. I'm sure.
Possibly, mate.
Stuck full of junk food. Crap.
Well, they'll probably deliver it by drone, won't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at what happened in the early 70s with the 3-day week. Look how quickly that came on. You know, that was, nothing was happening, and then what, a month later, then we were down to the possibility of going down to a 2-day week as well at one point, weren't they, under the Heath government? And you know, and that escalated in a matter of days, didn't it? Starting with the oil price increases in the Middle East, and
which is going to come in the next few weeks.
Of course it is, mate.
Yes.
And then the coal miners going on strike. and pick it in the depots so that they couldn't get coal out to the power stations. And that happened in the space of about 2 weeks. It went from 0 to 1,000.
And now it happened very quickly because we've got this just-in-time idea. Because in those days they used to have reserves. But I'm particularly interested in MRE, which is meals ready to eat. It's something that I like to make my own and things like that. And I was looking at World War II, the rations with these meals ready to eat that the Germans had compared with what the British and Americans had. The poor sods in Stalingrad with these meals ready to eat. Do you know they had sawdust added to their food?
To the bread, didn't they? To the flour. They put it in the flour, mate, to pack it out and things like that.
And Kat said 2025, sorry, not 29.
I thought you were going a bit far into the future.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't like to question anyone.
Sawdust and MSG. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And in Canada, now who would have thought that was a land of plenty? Yes, eggs are about that price.
Insane.
Scary.
Insane.
That is scary. Now we got here oxygen.
Hello, Sean.
Hamer. Hello, Sean. Oxygen, the lungs power most of the energy we use. Most of us could easily survive on 20% of what we have been programmed to overeat by the food industry. Yes.
Well, that's good. Why, in 6 months' time, that's probably what you're going to have.
That's right. Primroses, I can never pronounce those bloody things. Them as well. Nasturtiums. Nettles, limes, leaves, rose hips.
There's a lot more as well. Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Rose. I know that nettles directly you actually put them in boiling water, the sting just goes.
That's right, and you can make soup out of them, mate.
Yeah,
that's right. Ants don't like washing up liquid. Oh, thanks for that.
Oh. Hello, Jojo Gizmo. That's a new one.
Jojo Gizmo. Hello, Joe. Yes, that's good. Baby with a laser says sister planting red Indian thing. White man speak with forked tongue. That's why he eat fish and chips. Sorry. Terrible that one. You can make flour from acorns. Oh yeah, taste. Bit of processing would beat starvation. Yeah, they taste like shit.
No, you soak them in water for so many hours. I've watched a video on this the other day. You soak them in water, which takes out all the lanolin, and then you can use them to grind up for flour. Yeah.
Yeah. So now it says food forests are not gardens.
Agreed. Gardens should be food forests.
Yeah.
Yes. Cat Holly, they used the sand to make the concrete. The oceans are suffering because of this, but this so and so's do not care. I'm not sure they use sand in the ocean. I'm not because the salt.
I'm going to have to look into that because that's not something I think's right.
I'm interested to see. Yeah, I'd like to know a bit more about that.
Yeah.
Because I've never heard of sand being dredged out the sea to use for building before. I've always understood that sand for building.
Sandbags, things like that. I've known it
maybe,
for, but not for building.
But not for building. I would have thought there's too much crap in it. That you, like you say, salt for one.
Yeah.
Well, salt destroys concrete, destroys cement. And
well, maybe that's what they've been using then.
And also, how difficult would it be to lift wet sand out of the sea? How much easier would it be just to quarry it out of a hole in the ground? But I'm prepared to admit that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Do you plant them all at the same time, Yorkshire Rose? Plant what all at the same time?
When Mark was talking about sweet corn, beans and pumpkins.
Yeah, they all go in together.
That's the point, I think, isn't it? That you put them all in together and then nature just does its thing.
Yeah, the sweet corn grows really quickly. The beans then grow up it and the pumpkins spread across the ground with the big leaves to keep the weeds down.
Yeah. And what time of the year do you
plant
them?
Being evaporated.
And what time of the year do you plant them?
They can go in any time, really. Now, first week, I'd say first week of May to be safe, but any point now, really onwards.
Yeah. So it's corn, pumpkins, and beans.
Runner beans. Yeah,
I'm gonna have a
runner
go,
beans or climbing French beans,
mate,
something like that.
I'm going to devote a pot to that, and I'm just going to literally chuck the seeds in, cover them up, and water it, and see what happens.
Yeah,
Chris, just quickly, do you remember prior to Christmas we had a little competition about growing potatoes, and you had them in your greenhouse, and mine never even made it out the top of the barrel. Right. Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't tell you this, but I'm belligerent, and I like to just go against the grain and do things what people tell me won't work. So I chucked them potatoes in the bottom of an old water butt that was about 1 meter and a bit tall, and I put them about 2 inches from the bottom on some soil, and then I filled the water butt up with soil. This was last November, and I've always been told you shouldn't do that. You should put let them grow, put a bit more earth in, let them grow out the top, put a bit more earth in. I went out there the other day. I've got potato plants out there that high, poking out the top of that water butt. And I reckon, and I ain't going to do it just yet because I'm going to let them flower and see what happens. But I reckon when I dig that butt out, mate, that's going to be full of potatoes. So,
that's interesting.
Mate, like I say, I just like messing around and doing things that people tell me won't work. I put some autumn bloom carrots in last September, and they went out of date in 2016. And my dad was like, throw them away, they're no good. I've got about 30 carrots out there now, and they're about probably sort of getting on like that now, coming up to 1 inch around the top. They've been sat there since September, and
they find seeds in places like tombs. What have been there for 2,000 years? They set and they grow.
I know, mate. I've read that as well. So but yeah, I thought that was quite crazy. The fact that in 6 months, I've now got possibly a butt full of potatoes, and all I did was put them spuds in there and fill it up with earth, and I haven't done anything to it since.
That's amazing. Because I actually go to a specialist seed distributor called Poundland, and they're very good.
You're such a tight ass, aren't you, mate?
You can bet they've been played about with GM then.
I was going to say, I get my mate from a company online, a lot of my seeds, just an organic seed company.
Yeah.
And they're not massively expensive, £2-3 a packet. And if you order a few at the same time, it don't cost a lot to get them sent out. It's annoying when you just want one packet and you end up paying the same for postage as what you pay for a packet of seeds. So you try and wait until you get a few that you need. But yeah, I am fussy about where my seeds come from, mate.
I won't buy anything from the normal places.
No.
I only buy them online. All heritage seeds.
Really? Because are they GM? Are the pound shop ones GM?
I guarantee it.
I would say most.
I plant them then.
Yeah. No. Well, the thing is, you can plant them and they'll come up, but the problem is you won't be able to get the seed off of them next year. That's the problem.
Yeah. So you need the organic seeds, don't you, to do that? Because they've been programmed, the ones that you get from places like, I'm not going to say any seed company names, but a lot of the main seed companies, like you say, they're programmed, aren't they, to not seed the next year?
Yeah. So, my cousins just took on a little council farm, and I said to him, I've got something for you. And when I went over, I took him an envelope over with some runner beans in, and he said, what are they? I said, they're magic beans. And he said, what do you mean magic beans? I said, they're magic beans. Just trust me. And he said, where'd you get them from? I said, well, they were granddad. So my granddad, when I was 5, taught me how to plant runner beans.
Oh, wow.
And every year for 50 or 51 years now, I set the runner beans, sell the runner beans, keep the seed. And they've now, them seeds are the babies of the babies of the babies of the babies of the 50 odd years on.
That's beautiful.
And they were his seeds that he was handed down. So these runner beans have been going forever and ever.
That's beautiful. I love
really. Well, I got some what they call them, sedums and house leeks, and they were my granddad's that he bought in the 1920s. And they've just not the same ones, obviously, but they've just grown on his allotment. So there we are. But we got here. Someone said here, Dan MC says, fancy some gorilla companion planting down our local river area. Weed, tomato everywhere. Well, someone's been crapping in the river then, because that's what happens around sewage farms, isn't it? They see tomatoes. It's where the people have eaten the seeds.
Well, both weed and tomatoes will grow near a river.
I missed that, but
well, I was just saying. I'll just quickly put that on there. Fancy some guerrilla companion planting down our local river area. Weed, tomato everywhere. That's right, because someone's cracked in the river. We got urea is the main ingredient in toothpaste. Maybe with a laser.
Just quickly, Chris, on your previous comment.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
If we're talking about the kind of weed that we like, then that is quite often, I won't say too much here, but that is quite often grown with tomatoes in a greenhouse. And what you do is you grow tomato plants around the outside of the greenhouse, and then you let the weeds grow on the inside of the greenhouse. And then anyone looking in from the outside, it just looks like a greenhouse full of tomatoes. And the smell of the tomatoes and the smell of the weeds can almost become indistinguishable between each other, because tomatoes are obviously very pungent when they're flowering, when they're growing. So yeah, they are perhaps companion plants.
And they're 50 times stronger, the smell of tomato plants, if you go around with a razor blade and just gradually scrape the stem.
That's interesting. That's good to know, that is, Mark.
So that might cover up the smell of other weeds.
Are you talking about Rastafarian Old Holborn?
That's the one, Chris. But they're a common pairing, Rastafarian Old Holborn and tomatoes. Yeah.
That's interesting. That's very interesting.
Sorry, it's like Piccadilly Circus here at the moment.
Dan MC tomatoes. Well, what we fall in love with, I mean, as I was talking earlier, you know, if you've got this strange kink towards tomatoes, we're not going
to judge.
What adults do behind closed doors with your tomatoes, I don't really.
Whatever happens at Fockham Hall stays at Fockham Hall.
That's right. I mean, I told you about my leg that's had to have rate counselling because of my neighbour's dog. I mean, the poor leg. I mean, you know, I'm having to take. Got a young innocent leg here that my neighbour's dog is madly in love with. That's a soft disclose. Haven't some USA states started to ban them now?
Ban what? Ban what?
Planting food, I would have thought.
Where do you want to start? Water butts, seeds, anything.
Really?
Yeah.
Mustn't say water.
It's a lot of the states you can't collect rainwater now in America.
I know that in some states it's illegal to dig up your lawn.
Really?
Yeah. I'm sure I've read that somewhere. There's places in America now where it's illegal to dig up your lawn.
Well, I think it's a Middle East country. It's illegal to fart in the street. I mean, do they have sort of fart inspectors or something? Who's to know whether you just let one go? Bartol, this is Kate Holly, said, did a great piece on Dubai weather warfare on my page.
Share a link with us, Kat.
Yes, please do. And now it's got here. That's Baby with a Laser says that's Sodal in Abersoch a few years back. A beach hut went for this is when we talk about beach huts.
Yeah.
For a ridiculous amount. Then we got here gold. Hello, gold. We haven't seen you before. Armed struggle is needed. People think I'm joking. I'm not. Well, that normally changes things.
I can't agree with that, Chris. I can't agree, Chris. I don't think violence is the answer, and I don't think it is either. No, I think violence is playing into their hands.
Yeah, that's what they want us to do. If you want to impose martial law, get people to go on the streets.
Yeah. Non-compliance is the answer, and
absolutely
and being responsible for yourself and not taking
just say no.
Yeah, just don't participate in.
I think laughter. We got some laughter and civil disobedience.
Yeah.
But because
that is what would do it.
Yeah. Well, look at what happened with Gandhi. Gandhi had long compliance, didn't he? But I find him the other side. Actually, I don't think he was on our side somehow.
No, I think there's a lot about him that's quite shady. I've read bits and pieces. We won't slur the man's character because he's not here to defend himself. But
you've only got to take any form of history we've been taught has been played with to make sure we know the truth.
That's right.
Totally agree, mate.
Hitler was a very bad person.
He was awful.
Doing very good things.
Yeah, he did. I mean,
people, yeah.
I've got no time for any leader of any country anywhere, and I think if you want to be a leader of a country, that should immediately make you non-valid for the role. I think the people that should be seriously, I think people that should be leaders are the reluctant ones, the ones that don't want to do it, because they're the ones that are going to do the best job. If you're going to have a leader, but I don't personally believe in that anyone needs a leader. I think you can lead yourself. No. But you know, you're right. People like Mr. H and other people through history, like a certain man who used to run a country in North Africa called Libya, they're not what we're told that they were. No. And you know, you look at things like in Germany before the war, you had things like the Strength Through Joy program, where people were given 2-week paid holidays, and married couples were given incentives to have children, and literally given interest-free loans by the state. And there was a lot going on that we don't get told about.
Well, look at Libya, exactly the same.
Yeah, free energy.
You got married. If you got married to have kids, you got given £50,000. You know, money towards your first house. Your education was paid for.
That's what it should be like.
Yeah,
everything was there on the table.
Dividends from the state on the oil revenues as well, paid to all citizens.
Yeah.
And
while he lived in a tent, not a fucking castle,
no,
not a palace,
a
tent.
Yeah.
And his parents were the last to get air conditioning, wasn't they? In his house, in their house. He said every Libyan will have air conditioning in their house, and my parents will be the last to get it. They were.
Yeah, I've read that as well, mate. Yeah. And that happened, didn't it? So, you know, we can't trust anything that we're told really about anyone, can we? That's
and also point. What I can't stand is this Churchill worship. A great man. Well, always glass de la Pelga, a great man. No, he wasn't.
I worshipped him for years, Chris. I had a picture of him holding a Tommy gun in my living room, in my flat. We had it framed. It was a poster we got from the Imperial War Museum at Duxford in about 2006. And me and my flatmate had it paid to have it put in a nice big frame, and it used to be up on our living room wall. I've read most of the books that were written on him. I've read a lot of his books. I thought the man was a hero, but I'm going to go on record now and say he was an absolute effing scumbag. He really was. He wasn't a hero. And he was paid for. He was bought and paid for, wasn't he, by the Rothschilds long before he was Prime Minister.
Yeah.
So,
Ain't they all?
Sorry, Mark?
Ain't they all?
Yeah. Pretty
much.
Yes.
Have we got here, was it Kat Holly says, folks in Japan, I've got a stay single mentality.
Yeah. Interestingly, Kat, apart from on Christmas Eve, in Christmas Eve, especially in Tokyo, there is a massive one-night stand culture because nobody wants to be on their own in Christmas. And a lot of Japanese girls will accept a Christmas-only boyfriend just so that they're not on their own at Christmas. They are a weird group of people, the Japanese.
Oh, I mean, I was going to offer to help increase the population as well.
Yeah. Do you know what they have for Christmas dinner, Chris?
No.
Or what's really popular over there as a Christmas dinner in Japan?
No.
KFC.
Oh my God.
No joke. KFC take more money in December in Japan than they do the rest of the year, I believe. They even have these little outlets that they have outside shopping malls called like KFC Express or something, where you can just go and pick up your order of chicken. You literally have to order the chicken if you want it for Christmas Day in Japan. It's that popular. And that was just a clever marketing ploy by the first guy who ran a KFC restaurant in Japan, heard some Americans moaning about how they couldn't get turkey at Christmas. And so he cleverly marketed KFC around Christmas. And it's huge, absolutely huge.
Unbelievable.
There you go.
But
guys,
do you know something?
I'm conscious of time. I've got to be up at 3 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Oh, and I've noticed we're just up to the 2 hours.
We are.
Exactly.
This is the fastest 2 hours ever, isn't it? It really has
shot. Got 2 professionals on tonight, mate.
Oh, that's right.
Where are they? Where are they? Did we miss them?
Well, all being well, as long as we haven't set the klaxons off at YouTube HQ, I should be back here, same time, same place, with Robert. But he hasn't come back to me yet. So we don't. But anyway, all be well, whatever happens. And also, if you're around tomorrow about 3 or 4 o'clock, we're going to be doing some tests. It's not very interesting, some test runs on my Rumble channel. And also, the Rumble channel will be starting very, very soon if these tests are, well, if they work well. And tomorrow I'll be at Stanstead Abbots, that place. So I'll just pop this up again. Where is it? Stanstead Abbots. Presents, slides. Here we are. I'll be there at the Red Lion. Well, it's a Red Lion pub, actually. So very nice place it is as well. So there we are. And it just leaves me to say thank you, everyone. Hang on. What have I done here? I can't get. Sorry, Kat, you're on here. That's
you're
it.
on here eternally, Kat.
That's it. That's it. I just got to find where there I am. Right. I'm having a bit of trouble. Thanks, everyone, for coming on the show in chat. Chris, we say the bowler hat farmer, and thanks a lot. And sorry, I haven't really kept me hat on because it was so bloody hot. It's giving me an itchy nose.
It's sweaty.
Sweat is dripping off me, so I've had to take it off. But thank you, everyone, and whatever happens, have a bloody good laugh and good night.
Absolutely.
Spot on.